There's a capital city of a country with 15% the GDP of the state of Maryland that's doing something with public transportation that American cities refuse to do. When you think of cities American ones can learn from in terms of public transportation, your mind probably goes to Europe or East Asia. But Africa, I'd argue unfairly, gets left out of that conversation completely. There is a capital city in West Africa that does public transportation better than some American cities would ever have the ambition for. So on today's Teachable Travels, we're going to the Senegalese capital of Dakar. Senegal is an ancient area, once part of the Ghana Empire, and the city of Dakar has always been a crucial trading post and population center, even through French colonization. Like my adopted home of Baltimore City, its transit has varied through the years, but its main source of historical public movement has been ships and boats, specifically because it is home to one of the most important ports on the continent, even to this day. Sound familiar, Baltimore? Also, like Baltimore City, Dakar has a direct link to the airport via buses and its brand new TER or Train Express Régional. En français, je suis français-canadien et américain, mais mon français est... C'est pas trop dur avec moi, Senegal. The difference between Dakar's TER and Baltimore's light rail and Penn Line connection on the...
Oh, hi, Mark.
...is that the TER link to the airport won't be fully completed until early 2026. However, the infrastructure is there, running to and from Dakar's suburbs rapidly, and they will shortly be able to get to and from the city center and suburbs to the airport rapidly. To be honest, I would compare this more with the Penn Line connection to BWI rail station versus the light rail connection that we have directly to BWI's terminals. That being the case, the impressive part of the TER in comparison to any regional rail system the MTA in Maryland operates is its headways. Toutes les 10 minutes de lundi à samedi aux heures de pointe et tous les 20 minutes pour les heures finales de service. 10-minute headways from 6 in the morning to 9 at night, and a train every 20 minutes for the last 2 hours of service until 11 p.m. The caveat obviously here being that Dakar's train to the airport and to its suburbs doesn't have to compete with Amtrak or CSX the way that the Penn Line or Camden Line do. Okay, but what about Sundays? Because it gave a Monday to Saturday schedule, so Sundays have to be worse, right? Because they're not competing with the variable of track usage, tous les 20 minutes le dimanche et les jours fériés, meaning they have clockwork 20-minute service every hour on the hour from 6:30 a.m. until 11 p.m. on Sundays and federal holidays. That's incredible, and the perk of building something right the first time without having to deal with any greedy partners. And remember, right now, that's just the service to the suburbs. When the service to the airport begins, they've promised to increase headways, if possible, which means they'll run trains to Dakar and the suburbs from the airport so frequently, there will be metro systems in the United States that have worse headways. This is a huge transit win, and it's something every place outside Senegal, especially in Maryland, should try to emulate. Getting the most people possible to and from BWI on both the light rail and Penn Line should be one of, if not MTA's top priority. Obviously, it's important to note Amtrak runs Northeast Corridor service on weekends to BWI rail station, but we have a light rail that goes directly to the terminal. And as I've said in my video on the light rail, we do not have the best headways for that piece of infrastructure. Do express trains, do anything to mimic the rapid transit this corridor should have had. Okay, now back to Dakar. Unfortunately, much like you'd expect with any transit project, the TER isn't without controversy. In the United States, transit projects usually suffer from too much community say. In Senegal, people protesting the project are protesting it because they feel they weren't properly compensated for the land eminent domained or taken by the state. Listen, while I certainly hope Maryland grows some stones when it comes to dealing with certain people in the transit project pipeline, there is a fine line between true efficiency and overdoing it. And we have to find that balance here in the United States. Okay, so moving away from rail, but onto my low-key favorite thing happening in Dakar, buses, but specifically bus rapid transit. Dakar mostly relies on cars, taxis, bicycles, and people just walking places to get around, but it now has an incredibly sharp tool in its kit. It's called the Sunu BRT, and to the people of Senegal, désolé if I butchered the hell out of that. This 12-mile-long system of busways, transit signal priority, and stations fit with platform screen doors is a testament to good transit design that so many cities can learn from. Say what you will about battery-only electric buses. I'm more of a trolley bus guy myself. But this system is a near-perfect example as to how to do bus rapid transit right. Design-wise, it uses specific busways to get the buses through traffic without getting stopped, while also giving ambulances and emergency vehicles a path through gridlock. It has bike and micro-mobility lanes along the side to help give people a simple and quick last-mile solution. And its transit signal priority gets buses through intersections much quicker than you'd see in the United States. Tickets are relatively cheap. Stations are actual stations with gates to ensure fare payment, safety, and reliability. And again, platform screen doors are a safety feature as well as a way to allow buses to approach platforms much quicker to allow for maximum efficiency. Now, if you've been following this channel, you'll know that I've done videos on Baltimore buses, and I have my reservations as to how they're run. But they're also fairly efficient and do a great job moving the majority of the people along their routes, especially given the congestion on Baltimore City streets most days. What I'm interested in emulating from Sunu BRT is for Baltimore's light rail. Station design chief among them. Basically, in Baltimore, we do an honor system payment mode, because there's seemingly no way to keep people from just walking onto the train. This will also go for the Maryland Purple Line near DC, and to be honest, this is a light rail specific issue in lots of US cities. Fares aside, what I'm really interested in here is the dedicated corridors through the meat of the city and the transit signal priority method. Instead of expensive gates and lights, Dakar basically uses a flashing yellow / flashing red system. Essentially a yield mixed with a traditional GPS style transit signal priority. In Dakar, it seems that if you see a bus coming through a guideway, you stop and you let it go. And then you drive through the intersection. Not that hard. Mostly because the system was designed with transit signal priority from the start instead of shoehorning it in after congestion clogs up the right-of-way. That flashing yellow light yield is actually something rural areas in America do all the time for crossing state highways or arterial roads. As a fairly major caveat, Baltimore drivers do not know what the they're doing when they see a flashing yellow light or a flashing red light, God forbid both together. But that doesn't mean we don't at least start to view this as one option out of many to possibly get the light rail through intersections faster. Though I'll admit, it is easier said than done, as most things are. If you've watched this channel before, you'll know that my main issue with the light rail is that it gets stuck at 16 traffic lights through downtown Baltimore City. That slows it down on average by about 10 minutes. Frankly, for a mode of transportation that goes to BWI Thurgood Marshall International Airport, that's unacceptable. If there's one thing that Dakar got spot on with this BRT, it's making cars take the back seat for those on the bus. We should do that too for our public transportation, and stop allowing a driving culture to dictate how we move trains and buses with hundreds of thousands of people on them a day through our city streets. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you.